So team, welcome back. Day 28 for our automation testing training. Yesterday we were looking at some of the TestNG features. So let's take a look at what we did and then progress with today. So we looked at a basic TestNG, how we can set priorities of which test to run first. We also talked about parameters if we want to pass. Did we do this? Just checking once again, team. Yeah, did I show this? I'm not sure. Actually, this is the wrong one. That is the reason. Okay, here. So we were looking at the various annotations. That's the most important thing, team. Keep that intact for you as to what is doing when and where. The next, how we can run tests on priority. So you can set and tell what tests. So it's almost like saying what is severe scenarios for me, what you want to do initially, and then a few more non-critical ones later. So you could give that their team. We also saw how we could do any of this using our XML files. So a simple XML file will basically tell me what test or tests I want to run. And in this case, it'll run two tests, TestNG 3 underscore annotations. Do I see that? Yes. And it will also run TestNG02 underscore priority. So where is that? Out here. So let's look at this priority scenario. Double clicked. Oh, it's already here. Let me close all of these, team. Too many tabs. Sorry, having bad throat as well. So sweet, most of this team, yes, you don't need this XML thing, but from there on, from the suite all the way down, you'll need this information. So you need the suite overall, and then within the suite, what are the tests? Each test is a class, and that is what we're giving. Very simple, TestNG XML. Sorry, team, very bad throat. So here, after annotations, I have the priority. I'm double clicking. And in priority, we have a before method at test 3, 1, 2. So it's a different order in which we want to run. So this will come first, this will come second, this will come third. And we're also doing a simple assertion. If both are the same, there's a enabled is true or false will basically tell if you want to run that test or not. So we're looking at priority, we're looking at enabled tests. Sorry for the pause, team. Having bad cough. How do we run this TestNG suite, team? Now this TestNG suite, the reason we say suite is because under that we can have many tests that we want to run. And all our tests are classified in under classes. So I have two of them. If I want to run an independent TestNG class, I right click on it and say run as a TestNG test. So it's a single test that runs. Okay, and it basically tells me everything is good and there is one exception that is handled. You can see a TestNG results out here, correct? What is the priority doing? So right click, run as TestNG test. So it's gonna execute things on priority as to which is first and so on. It'll tell me what order it is executing things. Sorry. Now, how do I run this as a suite? Here I have both of them. So we right click on the TestNG XML or whatever name you want to give there and say run as TestNG suite. It's no longer a test here. So here it will run both the tests. And what we said is the parallel is false. Let's look at this parallel, how we did that. So for parallel, it was very simple. We have a T1, T2, and they're looping through, they're sleeping, so it'll basically take the same time, but just the concept of when they're running in parallel and not. So if I go to this, I say parallel is false, and I run this TNG04 underscore parallel 1. That's the only test I have. What will come out? Let's see. Run as a TestNG suite. If it finishes T1 and then it proceeds on to T2. So that's what it is attempting, correct? And it's taking time. We can kill this process. Now, with the same, setting it to true gives us the ability to run it in parallel. So run as TestNG suite. Okay, so it's doing T1, T2, T1, T2 in that order because both is waiting for the same amount of time. So that basically gives us a little bit more ability to efficiently run many tests together. So that is what we explored, team, yesterday. There was something about parameters. Let me see. Okay. Very nice. I think we have this. Did we discuss this parameters also, team? Yes, no? After that, I want to talk about data providers. And then I want to go into Maven. Okay, let me quickly round that up. So parameters basically says that I may have my before method or after method, but my test will have at the rate parameters. And I'm saying there's A, B, C. It requires 3 parameters in that specific name and order. Now, whatever I do internally with those values is my call. Okay. When I want to run this, if I right click and say run as TestNG test, can you tell me what will happen? It will fail because it does not have any data that is going into these parameters A, B, C. So it says I can't execute. Parameter ampersand A, see here, this one is required. So it failed right there. And which line did it fail? Let's see. In our code, I'm searching. Where's my code? What is the name of my code? TNG03 underscore parameters. Sorry, team. Okay, so then if we can't run it as a test, how do we run it? I say that I can pass the parameters into it and I should be able to execute. So here I have, so this is a little bit more than what we put. It's a parameters that we're passing. A is 120, B is 230, C is 260. And this is my class that I'm executing. Now the next one I'm doing 120, 230, 150. So this is a suite that we have. And these are running in sequence, not in parallel. Let's run and see what happens, team. Right click, run as a TestNG suite. What happened? Add 120. I think, but found 350. Yeah. So it is taking the late. What happened here? 1 second, team. I think this is where we were seeing that it was not doing both the tests at the same time. What was this doing here? test parameter class. So we were kind of playing around. But if it's a simple single call, I'll just do a control C, control V, and I'll say underscore basic. So here, everything will remain the same. I'll only have one class that I'll execute, not doing two classes. So I know how is it working. Let's do a correct run so we know how things are working. Then we will change the data to make it fail. Okay, start test, end test. It doesn't say much, team. And the reason being, out here, I don't think we have anything. So it just says reported.log looks good. So let's print this out. And I don't need to save that there. Basic, sorry, right click, run as. So start test value expected is 350 and end test looks good. So this looks good. Otherwise, it's gonna fail. So back here, let's fail it. Where is basic? Too many files are open, team, again. Close all, open the basic. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I changed this one, team. Switched. I'll cut it. I can have any number of XML files pointing to the same test. Okay, so this is where we were having an issue. Now this is the basic one, right click. So this is incorrect. So it should fail for us, run as. Right now we're only doing basic Java TestNG once, team. Later we're gonna do Selenium WebDriver later in the sense now. Okay, so this is done, and that was our parameters. Let's look at what is data provider, team. Primarily, the idea is very simple. If I want to execute a certain test with repeated sets of data, I can send them as parameters. But what if I want to keep changing them? That is where we use the concept of data provider. Please focus on this a little bit, team, because it's really important how we understand this. Okay, this is a good one. That's strange. Control Z. Why can't I control Z? Name.java. I don't need that. Data provider one. Copy. Come here. Paste it. There we go. Okay. So standard before test, before class, before method, right? So we have these in place, and some of these were not set correctly in the previous one. But for me, the focus is here, team. So I'll just put a before method. Let's reduce the size of the code. And then after method, I don't need too many things here. Okay, so I'll talk about what we're doing. Okay, now see, here is my test. That's it. At test public void, whatever is there, I want to print. So the key here is called data provider, team. When we looked at, for example, priority, we gave after at test in brackets priority equals 3. Or when we did parallel, not necessarily here, we do it in the TestNG XML. Or most of these things, we give details after our annotation as to what it is. Data provider annotation helps us to do the same thing. So let's close first all. Okay. So here, all that is doing is printing. What is it printing? A username and a user password. And I'm saying test username, user password. So my idea is I want to log in to see and say based on this data, I'll say user could log in, or I'll put a clause and say could not log in due to the details provided. That's all that it is doing. Now, if I want to run this test, correct, I need to feed it with data. Just like at parameters, I'm feeding the data in my XML file where I'm saying what is the parameter, name of the parameter, value of the parameter, parameter name, value. Now, how do I give here in data provider? So there we use the data provider class team. So here I said my test uses a data provider with the name my data one. That is the unique identification for us out here. Now in the data provider here, I am saying this, it's returning a two-dimensional object primarily because I want it to go as username and password. In this, I'm just creating a new object to hold this data team. Okay, an object just to hold any data that I can put into it. And in this, I'm saying the first one is K, this value, A, this value, B, this value, whatever I want. Now imagine a real-time scenario. A real-time scenario, you will have maybe an application that you're trying to test against different user profiles, different kind of credentials, and we're seeing how it is working. Or you want to do an e-commerce shopping cart test where your item is constantly changing, or your product ID, SKU key, those things keep changing. So data is the one that is consistently changing, team. Now, this is how I'm feeding my data. I'm saying, you know what? This is a simple Java object, two-dimensional. It has 4 rows, 2 columns. And I'm feeding all the data into this object called O. Finally, I'm returning O. So now when I run this, my data one, sorry, when I run my data provider one.java, it will execute T1 against all the sets of data team. That is what it is supposed to do. Now let's see if it does it as is, or do I need to create a TestNG XML also for this. Run as TestNG test. It should run. And basically it should be able to print all these details. There you go. So you're just saying passed each test. There's nothing that failed there. So that's cool. That's primarily what we wanted to do. Look at it. Each test, same test, different data. Same test, different data. Same test, different data. You getting the point, everyone? I'm not putting a Selenium WebDriver code yet here because I will add it when I show you Maven shortly, okay, and how we can do it as a dependency. Okay, now that is your basic data provider team. Then we can do some more advancements in it. Definitely the data provider doesn't have to be hard coded in your code. It can come from an external file. So let's look at how we do that from an external file. So here, what is there in this? Let me see. Data provider, my data two. Okay, it's doing the same thing, but it says my data two. My data one has all this. My data two has this. So it's basically, I have a different data. That's all I'm doing here. Okay. To the same, let me copy the whole thing, team. See, what I try and really emphasize in doing is going one after the other in the sense, oopsie, let me not do that there. You know, gradually increasing your code complexity and keeping them versioned. So it's easy for you to refer back also. Back here, data provider 2 and paste here. So actually, I'm going to take everything from data provider 1, Control A, Control C, data provider 2, Control A, Control V, change this to 2. And here, see, basically I can have any number of data providers within the same Java code. I already have one here, right? I will put one more, which will look the same. I can't give the same name. And I said, okay, this is data 2. And here I can have different details. Okay. And each one, so I can choose where my data comes from, but this is still hard coded. Okay, everyone. So my data 2, all that I have to do here is my data 2. Or I can have this like this, my data 1, and I have another test called T2. I'll say test 2 here, and this is my data 2. That's it. So both the tests, and we're trying to run it for different sets of data, still hard coded within our Java program. What went wrong? Let's see. Ting, 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 a data provider named my data 2. I think I made a mistake. Let's see. Before I see where and what, I just thought, let me check here itself. Okay, my data 1 is there. Do you know why, team? Can anyone tell me why there is probably a error? I'm not going deep. I'm just seeing something out here. So this add data provider is there for this. It should also be present for this. Otherwise, it wouldn't be able to do it. So it finished test 1 happily. Then it went to, when it came to test 2, it started having an issue because there was no add data provider annotation set to it. So now I think it should run with no issues. And see how nicely it'll show me that, okay, T1, 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 T2, T2, T2. And imagine all of this, visualize all of this to be, what do I say? You know, how you do application testing, be it web or API and so on, how you do that. That's what I want you to imagine. Let's do one more team for sure, the Excel base. So I was telling you that the earlier data provider, we had the data within our Java code. Now here, what I want to do is read this from an external source. Now, to be able to read this, close all to the left. I have the XPath team. So this becomes important for me. Where is my Excel sheet itself? So I don't know if there's an Excel sheet here, but I think it should be in the same machine. So let me see. SQL and training exited March. Okay. What's the name of this Excel? Book1.xls. Very convenient. C drive training. We are in July 2020. I'll just put it as, let's change it. TestNG data provider. I know it's a little long one, but let's see what data is there in this. So, and this is going to be my path. Hard coded for now, which is okay. You can change it, team. What was the data in it? I opened it. All right, same thing. See, username, user password. I was kind of putting it here rather than there. And some third column. That's the only difference, team. There's nothing else different in this Excel. So I'm going to take this back to code // dot XLS. So that's my XPath, not XPath. I'm sorry, where my Excel is, team. Give me a minute, please. Give me a minute, team. I'm sorry, I had to rush for something, team. All right, I'm back. Where is my Excel? Excel is here. Let's look at this code. What is it doing? We've been practicing a lot on this coding, team. That's why I'm taking a code instead of writing it from scratch. But for you all, I want you to please read it from write your code when you're looking at the video. Now look, before method, not so worried. At test has a data provider named MyData3. What does it do? It still prints the same details. Nothing else for now. That's enough for us to test and learn. Now look, this is returning a two-dimensional string, and that's fine too. And all it is returning is excel.read excel xp sheet 1. XP sheet 1. So this is the link to it, and sheet 1 is the name. So what is the issue? There's no Excel utility or a reusable method. Let's get this excel.java, excel2.java, and paste them here. First save everything, paste. Okay, excel.java is here. Now see for this, ting, 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 what are the packages I'll need? Apache POI for sure. And let's get that. Everything else should maybe come with it. So because in the earlier project that I was referring to here, if I go to the reference libraries here, it'll say that I have the POI jar as well. So that both those two are kind of sufficient to work on these. Now here, what I will do is I'm going to do the same properties, Java build path, and I'll just add an external jar for now. C drive, drivers, POI 4.1.2 also is there, and apply and close. Let's see. Most of it should disappear. Good, good, good. Let's see. There's still some issue I saw. Just a warning. It's never closed, I guess. Yeah. Resource leak. So basically, memory gets blocked there. Write Excel sheets, everything is here, team. So it's basically a very simple one like we were doing earlier. You send the sheet name and the path to it, it will return the entire two-dimensional array or the sheet itself. Then write Excel sheets is trying to write back. So now back to our source and data provider underscore excel.java, and that's my data 3. So let's change this so I know it's coming from there. Okay, saved. I don't think I need to close it. Let's try and run it. I'm sorry. So no failures, but no, actually did. No class def found where, tick tock tick. Which one am I running? Run as TestNG test. It failed, team. Let's see where it failed. There are no problems here. Let's go to console. Blah, blah, blah. Class not found, exception. Data provider underscore excel.java. Why it didn't find the class? Which class it didn't find? Let's see. Skipped T1. Let's see. At test. At data provider. Which line? My data 3, line 22. Here. It's having Apache POI. See, arithmetic utils. There are a few more jar files that I need to link, team. What are the other ones? Let's quickly add them from our drivers. There'll be commons. I don't, but then there'll be commons util. I don't think I need IO. Let me see. Let's try and run again, team. Which one is it running? It's running something else there. Back here, right click, run as TestNG test. Okay, there we go. So that's the one which we are reading directly from an Excel sheet, team. And you can similarly also write back whatever you want to an Excel. So just the fact that, hey, you know what? For this, my data is going to come from here. And the order in which you have your data is the same order in which you can also start printing and using them. So it's taking one after the other, team. That is what it is returning. So the data is important for us, okay? And so it also runs on the first row, which is the only challenge. Otherwise, it's a simple, decent one. Let's look at what this next one does, excel2.java. Ting, 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 everything looks the same. This also looks the same. Is the same thing, team. That's primarily it in terms of what you can do with TestNG. So please practice on all of these, repeat and write these codes, write individual TestNG tests, also write XML suites and run it through that. So you get a good idea on how things are running overall. Okay. Now, can we move on quickly to Maven? At least give you a good introduction. We'll get started with what it does, and then we can build further. Okay, team? All right, let's talk Maven. Maven, where are we? Here. Okay. So team, primarily Maven, okay, so every project has dependencies. Okay. Like for example, exactly the same issue that I had here, where I had to read Excel or I had to do, JUnit or TestNG, all these lib jar files, we had to manually need to add all the required jar files. So what Maven does helps us to create dependencies on the fly. So primarily, we will create something called as a pom.xml and talk about what are the dependencies in that. And those specific jars will get downloaded. So let us play with simple Java code. Then we'll play with simple Selenium code. Then we can also do TestNG with Maven. And then it'll be easy for you to kind of understand POM PF, how this model works. All right. Now, primarily Eclipse will have the Maven as a project feature within your uh, Eclipse installation itself, team. So if you go to File and say New, and instead of Java project, let's say Project. And out here, my focus is now going to be on Maven. Do you see this? There's a Maven one. These are very simple ones, team. They may look complicated just because of the names and so on, but it is absolutely simple. It's a very straightforward implementation, so it should not be tough. Only thing is few steps here and there, so let's keep an eye on it. So say next, and that's fine. We'll use the default workspace location. And it will load up, team. You'll see this getting loaded up here. So here we're looking at the basic archetype. So I think it'll be org dot apache dot maven. See here. Okay, so I'm just filtering that. And in here, you want to be able to go down to quick start here. All right. Say next. Now, group ID, artifact ID, version, package. Think of it more from a developer's perspective. They're trying to build things. It may not be very substantially immediately relevant for a test engineer, but you can think of it more like a workspace or a module and a project and tests under it. All right. So let's give a group ID as I'll say G1. So you'll know where G1 is going. And I'll say this is artifact ID A1. So observe what will happen, what kind of a project structure it's going to create. And I'll say finish. Okay, there we go. So here's my project called A1T. Okay. And in this, by default, it'll just have src main and src test. And under main, you'll have an app.java. Okay, if you just go filter down further. So this is how you're basically given. So there's always fundamentally a big talk around why do we need all these subfolders? It is more in terms of how Maven puts structure. And do you see while we are doing all these dependencies are getting downloaded, team? Everything is happening on the fly. And now by default, it comes with a JUnit dependency loaded. Okay. So here, let's go to app.java. And app.java is nothing but a simple Java method. So I'll just don't need this hello world. I'll say hello Maven. So now let me run this Java program, run as Java application. So hello Maven. So all works as a simple Java thing. Now, what is the difference between Maven? How do we use it for build? And how do we put dependencies into it? We will know what's the difference. If you go to the pom.xml, that basically gives an overall construction of what is needed for the project to run successfully. Anything that the project requires in terms of jar libraries and so on, I just need to find the version of the dependency and be able to put that there. So now do you see there is a JUnit dependency already here? I don't want, let us say for now, so I can delete it. There's a lot of default data here, team. This is the group ID, artifact ID that you gave. All of this you can customize, nothing specifically critical. Out here, there are some default plugins that it has, Maven plugins, so let them be there. It's all for the build, deployment, cleanup, a lot of multiple commands on Maven that we can do. But we will keep things simple from our side. Now app.java is working. Very good. Now what did we want to do? Simple Java code. Okay. Simple Selenium code. Let's do that. Let's do a simple Selenium code, team. Okay. So I'll say this is right click new cell1 main method finish. Any simple Selenium code? Let's see. It's still not there here. Okay. Maybe DDF linear framework source basic Selenium WebDriver. Okay. I'm going to copy this as is. Control C. Ting, 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 ting. And let's paste it. Package not needed. It's a different package. Basic SWD will change to cell1. Are you all with me? Very important question from my side. Any questions, anyone? I hope you're all with me, right? All right. Now, here's the test. This test looks great. It's very simple. It goes to go.itlearn. I have a Chrome driver.exe in C colon drivers. That's fine. It will launch and it will go about. Now, the challenge is I don't know where my WebDriver jar files are, Chrome driver or Selenium jar files. So any of these are not there, team. Now, all that we do is instead of searching in Google, so earlier we used to search for Selenium jar download and then get it, correct? What we will do now search is Selenium Maven Selenium dependency. What it'll do is nothing but give you a simple XML code. And this will be very important, team, when I show it to you. What will happen there? Where is this? All right, there we go. So I went straight to selenium.dev/maven, and here is the latest version, at least the one that is publicly available. You'll also have the new versions, team. So for us, now see, when we gave, all of you focus on this, pom.xml, when we created our own, we said group 1, artifact 1, it was this version. Okay, so version you can change at your end. This is how the new versions are maintained. You can always choose a specific version of Selenium to work on as well. This is the Selenium 4 version, team. So you can also work with the latest features of it. So this gives you ability to where you get this from. So I've copied this. Let me paste it once into Notepad, team. Yep, it is as is. So I'm going to take it into our pom.xml, which does not have any more JUnit and so on that we deleted. I'm going to put these dependencies here. Okay. So it will be under dependencies. I can have multiple dependencies. Okay. So now observe what will happen to my Maven dependencies as soon as I hit save here, team. Okay. My cell1.java is not able to recognize these because there is no jar associated. Now with pom.xml, when I just save this, okay, it's saying building. Do you see this? This is a process where it is acquiring the latest, this version jar from org.seleniumhq.selenium and getting you the latest one. So it's building up your project for it. Did you just observe, team, all of these getting added by itself? I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to go download a jar, unzip it, import it into my Java build path. I avoided all that by just saying what is my project dependent on. Okay, so this is my selenium.java. Now let's go here. Everything seems to be fine. And now primarily, let's try and execute this code. There is an error here. I don't know, but it's saying there's some error in the project. Don't see where, we'll see. But at least it's launching the browser, navigating, doing what it's supposed to do. So that is a good one, team, for us. So for us, this becomes very critical. How we can write our code and how we can maintain it. Your pom.xml will hold all the dependencies that you want. So even if I give it to you, I just give you the pom.xml along with this. It'll automatically download everything. Now, how will a simple TestNG program look like? So let's go to our TestNG basics. Let's go to a very simple one. Parameters test now, not XML is my TestNG2.java. No, I don't want to use all the annotations. Let me copy this and then we'll see. The reason I don't like copying everything, team, is it is nice to have a simple program to start with. It's always easy to expand after that. So I'm going to take this. Now see, it does not recognize any of the TestNG commands. There are a lot of commands here. I don't need data provider, team. I'm going to remove anything here. Just keep very basic ones. No inputs. So test one, that's it. Okay. I don't need data provider. After method. Now this is as simple as possible, a TestNG test. So I'm going to save this. If you take your mouse over at test, it may ask you to add JUnit or TestNG library. We are not going to do this. We're going to repeat the same process, and I'm going to say the same TestNG Maven dependency. And every popular tool out there would have created its Maven dependencies team. Let me see, where's the code? It should be here. Maven. Oopsie. So this is April 9, 2018. This seems to be the version that I see. So I'm going to copy this dependency and let's put it into our pom.xml for our Maven project. So it'll build the latest one. So as soon as I put this, it'll be under dependencies team. So remember that. So that's one dependency. This is the second. Now, as soon as I say save, observe if TestNG comes here, team. So we're not even running anything. It's just a pom.xml that's updated and saved. And automatically it'll build whatever is needed. Do you see this? TestNG is here. Okay. Now, let's go to our code. Where is the code? And see if annotations can be recognized. Before method, I don't see them, team. And I think one of the reasons could be that I said the scope is test. The scope, let's remove the scope. So test sometimes does not um, show us what we want. So we're not testing it, we're using it. Oh, see, now the defects have disappeared. It is from TestNG. So it's got all the annotations that it requires. It doesn't need many of them. So just simple, done. Now, you basically are not able to run this. See, testng.xml is what we create, team, and that is the one we try and execute rather than this as a simple testng test. So let's run it as a testng test first and see what happens. Let me cancel this once. I want to see what is the problems in the project. There's errors, 68 items. API demo one is missing, this library. Oh, there, another project. Right click, run as testng test. All right, there we go. So here's my testng method. Now within this, you could have so many things that we will start doing, team. Now, most importantly is your Selenium testng test. So let's say, how do we combine? I want to give it as an assignment. I don't know if you guys will do or not. Okay, new cell parallel TestNG. Okay, that's the name. So this is going to be a TestNG method for me or program. It'll have the standard thing here. And within this, what I want to do is this is one Selenium test. We have all of this and we have another one that we can do. So I want to give you an assignment, team. Can you try this, please? One, write two Selenium tests using TestNG. Okay. And okay, of course, use Maven dependencies. And we can then look at more dependencies that we can add, team. But you need to write two Selenium tests using TestNG, use Maven dependencies, run in parallel. So I want both those tests to run in parallel, or maybe four Selenium tests. See, the idea in this will be very simple, team. This part of the program is common for everything. So here, let me put that into before method, where it goes about creating a URL, a Chrome driver, sets everything. Okay, the URL, if you want to change it to different URL, you can. But now T1, what do I do? I'm almost completing that assignment also. So here, see, I'm saying my did, okay, navigate and sleep, correct? Base URL my ID are declared here. That's a problem. Where did I put? Close all. So I've kind of globally defined it. That's T1. Now T2 will be doing something different. It'll still go there, and I'll say my d dot get title. Okay, and I want to print this. That's T2. T3 also will be that. Let's say get title. Now I have three test team. Test 3 almost doing the same thing. 2 and 3 are just getting title. Test 1 is only navigating, and we have our entire test here. So let's see if I run this as is, what would happen? It'll run sequentially, one after the other. Now, how will a parallel XML look for us? So it's running the test, I guess, in the background. Test 1 is happening. That's test 2 now. New XML file I'm going to create. Just say file. And here, what is it that I'm doing? Cell para test ng dot xml. Finish and paste this into it. This XML and doc type not needed, team, that optional. So I'll take it out and just focus on what I need here. What is the name? Cell parallel test ng. That's all I give. And here parallel is true. So if the parallel is true, each of those tests have to run. Now, how long did this take? It took 30 seconds overall for these 3 tests. Now, let's try and run this as a TestNG suite. I don't know if it runs. That was the assignment, team, I wanted to give actually. It is strongly recommended. Okay, that's fine. Cannot find class path cell parallel TestNG. Cell parallel TestNG. What else is this? Did I misspell? Saying cannot find this. I moved it to the main directory. Let's try again now. Doc type is optional, team. It's just recommended. What is failing here is this name. I'll just say cell 3 for now. And here also cell 3. So cell 3, so that's good. Run as TestNG test will do. Cell 3 here is the name now. Test name, suite name. The same issue, team. I'll try this. I want you also to try the same, team, to be able to run these parallelly. So see, if I take this cell 3, okay, copy this whole thing into our basic TestNG programs here. This is the problem. Where is cell 3? Control C. Come here. Control V. Cell 3.java is there. Okay, for this, I'm going to add it manually, Java build path. Selenium jars I need team. Okay, so cell 3 is here. Now cell 3 as is should run. So here, I'll say cell3.xml. Parallel is true test, and here I'm going to change it to cell 3. That's the only change that we're doing in the XML. Right click. I don't know if I clicked it, team. I did. It's running here. The question is it, see, 3 browsers in parallel? Do you see that, everyone? All the 3 browsers in parallel, and the execution also should be much faster. All right, so it took overall 41 seconds. What? But it didn't take 41 seconds, right, team? But that's how we can do even our Selenium tests in parallel. Now, Maven, POM, PF, let's put that framework in place now that we have this. Please practice a lot till here, then POM, PF model will be very easy. We've got all the fundamentals on this. And here, I can say myd.quit. Same here. After method. So I know that. So basically, if I'm running it, run as TestNG test, it'll take much longer than when I'm running it as. Okay, any questions while this is happening? Kind of done there. I want to test correctly, team. So we have the right code. See, it's 11 seconds so far. One test is done. This is the old ones, I think, team. I'm going to close that. Even this was an old one. Okay, so all 3 passed. It took 30 seconds. Actual 30 seconds. Now, cell3.xml. Start of test, see? All 3 launched. Much faster team it is. Why after method? And after method, is it taking it as this? But yeah, it's not taking more than 10 seconds overall because they're running all in parallel. I think it's just adding it correctly. Summary, time. I don't think it took 33 seconds. Okay, let me see. Audience, where are you? You don't see TestNG option, but I see TestNG when I right click Java file. You'll see TestNG. So let me make you presenter and see if I can. But there are issues, team, with Eclipse sometimes. On the other one, I had a similar issue. Let me see. If you can share your screen, I'll see if I can do something. Okay, 1 second, I can't see. So here, yeah, that's the problem. I know it's the same thing. Show me your XML file. Okay. What is this test name that you gave? TestNG test. Mhm. So test name, just say test please here on line 3. With uppercase T at the beginning. It doesn't matter, but just, and okay, save and right click please. Go to run configurations. You'll see other configurations here, but not TestNG. Okay, it's here, right? Okay, but this is, okay. Do you see the TestNG here, just under Maven build? Click that. Hello? Can you click on the TestNG just below Maven build? Can't see your mouse moving or anything, Pari, from your end. But I've seen the similar issue. Just Google and check, please, why it's doing that. Your run configuration sometimes can help, but not necessarily. So, and this has got no Maven in it. It's just basic TestNG. That's very interesting. What Eclipse version? Maybe try a different Eclipse version. Let me know, please, on Monday. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back on Monday. Bye now. Thank you.